welcome to our architecture painting. Today, we're going to practice mixing the colors of your chosen color family, and then you can start on your final artwork. To begin, you need to make sure that you completed your worksheet, that you gave yourself two options for colors, and that you are choosing which one you would like down here. You can see I chose analogous colors, and one of my other options was complementary, but I chose not to go with that. So when you choose, you're going to write your color family down here, define it, and then you're going to make sure that you can mix those colors. We're going to be using watercolors, right, for this assignment. So your color palette is hopefully really nice right now, and we're going to try to keep it that way. When you're mixing colors, you want to mix them on the side, and at the end of each class, we're going to clean these up for the next person. Okay, so I decided on, let's get rid of this for a minute. I decided on the analogous colors of yellow, green, green, blue, green, and blue. So I chose 4 analogous colors, and I'm going to try to recreate them down here. Now, if I have yellow, green, I know that I need yellow and I need green together. So you're going to swirl your brush around in your watercolor after you dip it. And I want you to try to practice your neatness getting inside the circle with not too much water, or else it's going to drip and run. Before I put this in my green, I'm going to rinse it off and gently, I'm going to put my water cup in the frame so you can see it. I'm going to gently wipe off my brush on the side. If you start to tap it, you hear that tapping noise, that means that paint is flicking all over your area, and that's what we want to avoid. So gently wipe it. I'm going to get some more yellow actually here. Swirl it around in my green a little bit to mix a yellow-green. And as I'm watching, I think I need to put more yellow. So this is your time to experiment with making the colors so that when you move on to your final artwork, that you know exactly what you want to do. I'm going to put true green right here. So I might even change this into like a lot of analogous colors, right? Colors that are next to each other. And then I want some sort of turquoise. So again, I'm going to take some green on here. And turquoise is really what we know as blue-green if you were to take the two together. I'm going to mix them on here. And there we go. I have my color palette that I'm choosing to use for my final artwork. If you think you're ready to move on, I'd like you to raise your hand just so I can check that your color family is correct and that you can move on to your final artwork. This should go in the drying rack when you're finished with it. Moving on to your final artwork, right? You need to make sure first, before you paint, that you have outlined with your Sharpie marker, that you have erased all your extra grid lines, and you're ready to go. Now, this is where you have some choosing to do. I think what I'm going to start off with as the turquoise for the shadow or the darker parts of my artwork. And looking at this, I actually think I need a smaller brush. So I brought some smaller brushes for you today that you can also use if needed. Small brush for a small area, large brush for a large area. Notice again, I'm mixing it on the side of my palette. You're going to need to clean this all before you go. So please don't make it too messy because you're going to be the one in charge of cleaning it up. Looking at that, I think I need a little bit more blue. Wonderful. So I'm going to choose to make some of these areas nice blue-green. And I'm using a small brush because I'm doing a small area. And once I mix the color on the side, I can just keep redipping my brush in there. Again, small brush for a small area. As you can see, I finished up painting all of that little shadow area, my blue-green color. So I'm going to move on to my next color and my next area of my artwork. And I really need to make some color choices right now. And I'm really deciding, I think what I'm going to do is paint like a true blue inside of here, and it still goes along right with my analogous colors. I'm just adding another one on, right? So I'm sticking with my color theme, but this time I'm going in with a true blue, and I'm going to add this darker area right in here. Again, I'm using a small brush for a small area. I'm outlining first the different sections of my window. And I'm going to grab more blue because I want this to be a little darker and a little bit more opaque. Can we all say opaque? Opaque means that you can't really see through it as much. Watercolors will always be able to see through a little bit, but you can control the lightness or darkness or the opaqueness or transparency by adding or taking away more water. So again, I'm just keep scrolling around, adding, right? Outlining first is a great strategy to make sure that you're being a little bit more neat. And then you can start filling in those lines like so. I'm going to keep going with my blue for my windows. The last thing that I want to show you today is a larger area. So what you might want to do is use a larger brush. I think I'm going to do mostly like a green for this, but I might make it into slightly yellow-green, right? Because there's always going to be variations. I'm going to add a little bit, only a little bit of yellow to brighten it up. And again, I'm going to outline. You even might want to use a small brush to outline your details for a second, right? To outline your details like your windows, different sections of your building, and then use a larger brush to paint the majority. So smaller brush for smaller areas, larger brush, larger areas. And you can paint over some of your Sharpie because it should show through, right? If you have like that line, I just painted right through it. Right? And I could keep going just like this, getting around all my windows, all my details. All right, I want you to get started today. Remember, it is going to be your job to clean your color palette after each class, so please try to keep it neat. And this is my finished painting.